Greetings to everyone. Our seaweed industry is in the forefront of international trade, and our long experience in this field provide us valuable insights in doing export business within the framework of international trade agreement. Our industry is known for its product, the so-called food additive Carrageenan, an extract from red seaweed, Capapicus, and Euphuma. This product has established market niche and branding recognition in the global trade. Carrageenan serves as binder, stabilizer, emulsifier, thickener, and clarifier. It comes in three categories: the kappa type characterized by rigid, harder, and brittle gel; the iota type that creates a soft malleable gel good as a stabilizing agent; and lastly, the lambda type as thickener to provide better mouth feel and creamy sensation in beverages. The marine macroalgae thriving in the Philippine seas with commercial value and the source of extract for Carrageenan are the cotonite and eucuma from red seaweed, for alginates, the brown seaweed sargassum, and for agar from another seaweed, Gracilaria. In the next segment of this presentation, please take a look on how our industry responds to the intertwining factors existing in the international trade, like in EFTA. There are two major segments comprising our seaweed industry: the farming sector and the processing side. The profile of our stakeholders would show significant number of people involved in the industry, the rated processing capacity, and the natural resources available to the industry. The farming side of our industry relies on the abundance of seaweed species. Ensconced in the tropical climate of the Philippine Sea rests the marine fauna of 893 identified species of seaweeds, of which 60 are suitable for human consumption. From this edible number, 4 varieties are being farmed, namely Capapicus, Eucuma, Caulerpa, and Gracilaria. These 4 wild stock seaweeds with commercial value have good potential of being cultured. Our local seaweed production primarily caters to the raw material requirements of our domestic processors. In terms of output, the Philippines prior to 2008 ranks number 1 and now holds the current 3rd position in the global production of raw dry seaweeds. Presently, our industry accounts for about 80% of the world production of Capapicus. Our processing sector primarily produces Carrageenan in refined and semi-refined type using the alcohol precipitation and gel press technology. The versatility of Carrageenan finds its presence in various food and non-food product application. Existing other product application could be found in the market, together with the newly developed applications. The bulk of Philippine-produced Carrageenan goes to export market, and as such, it carries international branding known as Philippine Natural Grade, recognized under Codex Alimentarius Commission of FAO and WHO as food additive. In Europe, under Annex 1 of European Parliament and Council Directive, and in the US, under Code of Federal Regulations. Carrageenan holds certification as food additives under European Food Safety Authority. Philippine Carrageenan as export commodity captures 15% of the global market, thereby placing the country as second largest supplier in world standing. The export proceeds on yearly average contributes about $200 million to our economy. Major trading countries come from Europe, US, and China. Based on 2016 results, our export to the US and Europe secured about 52% and 18% of the market, respectively. The 2020 export performance retains the same ranking order. The favorable acceptance in the international market of Philippine Carrageenan in general could be attributed, among others, to good quality of raw materials derived from naturally grown local seaweeds, competitive pricing brought about by proficiency and efficiency in the use of current processing technology, and the benefits of having established customer relationships and alliances. In the last 5 years, the volume of our industry's business with EFTA poses challenge for advancement. Market initiative for Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and Iceland need more push to generate the incremental business. Given the market acceptance of our seaweed products in European Union or EU, wider access to EFTA market may not be, after all, a dauntless task. Some of the industries in EFTA which may be of great interest to the promotion of our seaweed products and areas where we could promote work collaboration, trade cooperation, would be the pharmaceutical, banking, food processing, precision instruments, and aquaculture. Our seaweed products having bioactive elements could find prospect in pharmaceutical application. In a clinical research and trial in Argentina, a nasal spray containing Iota carrageenan manifested its efficacy as prophylaxis against COVID-19. Our industry could tap EFTA's banking sector as financing source for possible funding for our projects involving our local entrepreneurs or ventures in tandem with EFTA investors, and the precision machine industry for specialized processing equipment like custom-built grinders for Carrageenan blending process. Carrageenan suits well in food processing like EFTA's produced meat, dairy, and confectionery products. Exchange of technological know-how in aquaculture could be integrated in our seaweed farming practices to upgrade our practice in multi-tropic aquaculture known as IMTA. Just like the prevailing economic scenarios with impact to IFTA, the international trends and outlook projection for seaweed hinges to the large extent on the degree of COVID pandemic recovery. The resumption of renewed economic activities would shift to higher gear when health risk is brought to a manageable level. Asia-Pacific area will remain the biggest market for seaweed products. The expected increase in per capita consumption could be triggered by the post-pandemic economic recovery, where the affected countries would pose bigger demand to replenish the dwindling supply level of food and non-food products. Consequently, these projected strong growth areas would contribute much to the attainment of $16 billion worth of business, as well as production target. Global certification will influence on product market access. However, this may carry costs for the account of suppliers. The confluence of David and climate change impacts would bring about new normal practices in the industry that may likewise entail added costs on productivity and efficiency, thereby affecting our export pricing strategies. The current situation in local seaweed industry shows that demand for raw dry seaweed exceeds the available supply. This would translate into higher farm gate price, renewed interest in seaweed farming resulting in the involvement of more number of fisher folks, productive utilization of idle seaweed farms, livelihood opportunities to displace labor sector affected by COVID. Business expansion comes in the form of new players in seaweed farming and processing. This expansion necessitates funding requirements for invested capital sourced from savings, financing from local or foreign banking institutions, and foreign direct investments. Under the Board of Investment Program guidelines, investment in seaweed venture qualifies as investment priority project entitled to certain preferential privileges and incentives. In the seaweed industry, innovation on farming practices becomes imperative to mitigate the adverse possible effect of climate change. This may call for relocation of seaweed farms to different sides of the sea where water temperature is lower and more conducive to seaweed culture. With wider available area for use in this undertaking that requires higher investment costs, the corporate structure setup would fit very well into the picture, especially in attracting local and foreign investors who have the better capacity in meeting capital fund requirement and credit access to banking or financing sector. The industry, in a way, heavily relies on certain seaweed variety for Carrageenan production. The development of other seaweed, particularly for arginates and agar production, deserve closer look. For example, Indonesia, being the #1 world seaweed producer, includes in their production statistic a sizable volume of gracilaria, the source for agar. Gracilaria is much in demand in China, but our local industry is not yet in the position to enter the agar foreign market in bigger scale, since our gracilaria production is geared toward domestic market. The same is true in the case of sargassum and ulba, where our supply comes from wild stock, thus limiting our capacity to serve the local and export market, and at the same time maintaining balance in our conservation measures. Research and development on new or improvement of products application would enhance our competitiveness in the international market. As in the case of Carrageenan, our tried and tested approach in research collaboration with marketing clients resulted in right blending of Carrageenan, well suited to their products and in conformity with classified specification or formulation. Application in non-food and industrial use offer feasible long-term business prospect. As mentioned in our trends and outlook topic, quality certification is a seal to facilitate access to international markets. Consumer preference govern marketing strategies. As exemplified in the growing consumer health consciousness, organic product gains growing buyers' preference. Carrageenan has undergone the scrutiny of U.S. National Organic Standard Board as acceptable ingredient for organic products in response to certain clamor of consumer sector alleging health risks associated with degraded Carrageenan. The U.S. Department of Agriculture sustained our position, proving that our seaweed for Carrageenan are naturally grown and free from synthetic contaminants that are incompatible with the requirements of organic products. Our industry is recognized as pioneer in seaweed farming. Thus, our farming practices are considered the international benchmark standard, being looked upon by other seaweed growing countries. In the ASEAN region, the Philippines is the acknowledged leader in seaweed business, notwithstanding the fact that Indonesia is the world's #1 in raw dry seaweed production. Our leadership augurs well in the ASEAN market integration. Our institutional supports from government, academe, and private sectors enable the industry to withstand the challenges associated with seaweed diseases and natural calamities. Need for technical supports, product research, elimination of trade barriers, and market security. Our industry confidence in doing business with EFTA is buoyed by our gained experience in dealing with other similar trade blocs. We've been there before in this situation. Our stakeholders in export remain steadfast in knowing the need of our clients, upholding the quality of our seaweed products, giving firm commitment to our clients with due care, and observing the spirit of fair play. Ultimately, these factors bears fruition, which brought about great deal of accomplishment while working with our foreign business partners. Following the same blueprint, the seaweed industry takes EFTA as viable business proposition. In closing, as an example, please have the pleasure of watching the video clip of one of the Philippine major Carrageenan processors with vast and long experience in doing worldwide business. The video presentation served as a brief showcase of the attributes for which our seaweed industry stands for. Our industry hopes that this presentation, in a humble way, would contribute in your plans in pursuing and doing business with EFTA. Thank you and mabuhay.